after coffee, Mary. So let's say to the audience that we are both Italian.
That's right.
That's right. Yeah, both Italian. So we can talk about a bit about that. We move to digital transformation and marketing. Okay, fine. Okay, Mary.
Well, we have a bond. I think.
Yeah, we can talk about it. Okay, Mary, I want to know everything about you personally first, correct? We all want to know.
I have such a story.
But no, because I think you are a beauty veteran.
I am. So I've spent my whole career in beauty.
LinkedIn.
Yeah, LinkedIn. Yes, my LinkedIn is full of beauty. So I started at Estee Lauder almost 20 years ago. So getting old now. So Estee Lauder, and I started there with their beauty bank division, which was super fun. It was really entrepreneurial. They were doing a new business model. There was licensed fragrance, so I learned a ton. And then after that, I was there for 5 years, and I was also at Clinique. I worked on men's. I worked on skin. So I learned so much, a lot of passion for the business, and I learned there. I fell in love with every single thing that I was assigned to work on, and I think that was something that I learned about myself as a marketer, because I remember at one point saying, "Oh, men's, I don't know," and then I got into it.
Yeah.
But then I got into it, and I was like, "Oh, I love men. This is great." So then I was there for a while, and then I said, time for me to build my career, and so I went to Avon, and that is where I really, I feel like took a leap where I became extremely humble as a marketer, because for the first time in my career, my business was centered on emerging markets, and I was really selling to a consumer who had a very low purchasing power. And so I really started to have a profound respect that, we have to create the best quality products we can. Just because this consumer can't pay doesn't mean that they don't deserve great products. And so I always took that with me, and I think that's why I really wanted to go to mass after that. And so I came to Coty to be in the U.S. commercial division and mass, which I didn't have, and I've been there ever since. So I've just made my way different brands, and now I'm on the color cosmetics portfolio.
And CoverGirl.
There we go. Easy breezy,
Yeah,
beautiful.
CoverGirl. And I have a question because I'm in Target. CoverGirl.
We're all targets. That's why we're so big. Because everybody's a target.
Oh, everybody. So I noticed this. I mean, just as a consumer, not as a marketer, I noticed that you manage to. I mean, I saw some advertising on social media with Nikki Taylor. Mm-hmm. Do you guys know Nikki Taylor? No? Okay, thanks God, you know it. Okay, she's a model. She was a model. And at the same time, poof, after 3 months, Kelsey Ballerini on another platform. And I said, wow, CoverGirl can really do two very drastically different consumer profile and also product lines. I would not use the Kelsey one. And so how you manage internally also as a spending, investment, digital platform? I mean, it's pretty, dramatic.
Yeah, and I would say I think the fun of being on a really big business is that you can. So you know that you have this core traditional consumer, and that's where Nikki really came in, and then you have Kelsey for that younger consumer, but I think the fun is in the nuances between them. So, for example, we have Nikki, which it was, yes, super recognizable for that core consumer, that older consumer. It was like nostalgia coming back home again to somebody who was just so iconic for the brand. But then, at the same time, we had young people on TikTok that had found some of the CoverGirl Simply Ageless products that Nikki markets, but it was a 19-year-old influencer just like going on and on and on about how great this foundation was. So there's like a real nuance there. And then weirdly, when we think about our media marketing decisions, it's not just about age, because yes, we do linear television, but we do connected, we do FEP, we do OLV, and what we found was that sometimes on YouTube, our highest conversion is coming from the oldest demo. And so we're like, what are the 65-year-olds watching on YouTube?
I don't know.
It's like an amazing thing. And then on the other side with Kelsey, that just gives us so much license to try new things. And so we're always trying whatever the latest betas are, whatever the new opportunities are from the media platforms. For example, we did gaming, we worked with Activision, we do audio, Alexa, like you name it, we'll use it to reach that young consumer, and we just see the payoff and we see the incremental consumer. But then when we look at the buyer data, we know we're also getting the older consumer. So it's really a lot of fun because it's almost like you just have a broad organizing principle with these two strategies. But then within that, you have a lot of fun to like cross-pollinate and play and test and learn and optimize. So it's super fun.
Okay, we talk about personalization today all day, so I have to ask a question and then we move on because I think we've beaten it up to death. But how do you, what's your process to personalize content, to create personalized experiences, you know, and all the things we talk about? And let's see if you have a similar process than people that talk to us before.
I would say it's yes and. So all of the great things we talked about earlier, you know, DCO, all things that we're looking at. But I would say for us, another way that we go about it is to really think about, because we do have a big tent with CoverGirl and we do have a lot to offer a consumer, so you could have the same thing can be framed many ways. And so for us, that's a way that we personalize, is by starting there and to say, well, maybe there's questions and things we want to test out that we can say about the same product. And so we can do a lot of, you know, A/B testing. We can really frame things in different ways, customize the assets by platform, change the messaging, change the focus, change the imagery, and see what sticks, and then just optimize from there. So I think that's a different way that we go about personalization, in addition to trying like the more dynamic type of creatives. So we kind of go about it, it's almost like art and science in a way.
Okay, that's great. Okay, today we didn't talk much about innovation, how you shape your innovation, how you get new idea, how do you predict the future colors. I guess in cosmetics it's so difficult, you have to be advanced, you know, and think a lot in advance. How do you do it?
So I think, so there's two things that I think are really like fun in this space as well. Because no one has a crystal ball, you know, so I think there's that. And I'm also not on the innovation team, so that's, I should also say that. But, you know, one thing that we'll do is like really mine social listening and ratings and reviews data. And we had an instance where we discovered by looking at the ratings and reviews, it was a top-selling product. So from the sales data, it didn't look like there was an issue. But reading all of that, you know, social listening data, ratings and reviews, we actually could root cause that there was a problem with a product, that something had changed that no one was aware of in the product, and it was actually impacting the performance, and the team actually took that back and fixed the problem. So they used that and they bucketed that with another innovation story, so that we really were able to like solve a problem without telling the consumer we're solving a problem, and just bring them something new at the same time. So that's one example of how we can really like ladder back to innovation. I think the other one is something that we actually do a ton on Rimmel, which is just being extremely reactive to what we see in social media trends, and then realizing that, for example, there might be a nail trend and we don't play in nail at all. So maybe there's a certain look that's trending in nail, and we can really quickly figure out how to do that with our color cosmetic items that are existing in the portfolio, make a look, get it, you know, put that up in content. And now we've like jumped on a trend. So we're not predicting there, but like we're reacting really quickly and able to give something fresh, a fresh spin, so it really reads as really relevant.
Oh, that's great. So, I mean, supply chain and out of stock is really, I know, because I actually told you, oh God, I couldn't find this at CVS. You say, I'm going to bring you one. I said, don't worry, I'm going to go to Walgreens or whatever. So, but supply chain is a big issue, and out of stock is a big issue. And you have all these investments, you know, line up, and Kelsey Ballerini ready to go, or America Ferrera. How do you stop all of this or replan all of this when suddenly maybe the cap of the mascara does not show up, and so you cannot produce and put it on shelf as you planned?
Yeah, I mean, I think thankfully we have wonderful, wonderful ops people that just make magic happen, which will always help us to scrape by. But then we are flexible and agile, and we had to do that, earlier in 2022, again, it's always our luck that it's our best-selling product that all of a sudden we can't get. So we actually had like a real shortage on probably our number 2 foundation. And we had a lot of support going in market for it. And we just moved quickly to say, you know what, let's lighten up a little bit the messaging on this one particular item. Let's remove that image from the creative. Let's focus on the other one. Let's kind of lighten that load a little bit, and just really quickly, reactively change the media in order to just kind of help alleviate some of that pressure. And that's just that's an approach that like we'll just bring to the party. And then always using data to assess how bad is it, right? So we're able to get data in terms of in-stocks. We look at the lag between the retailer orders, their fill rates, in order to get a projection as to when will we be back and healthy again, how risky is it, how likely is it that we'll achieve it, how likely is it that the orders are going to come flooding back, the pent-up demand, and then we'll just make a judgment call to see, okay, how bad is the situation, can we prioritize certain retailers, and then we can make a judgment as to whether it's really worth making all those changes, because we know that we always lose a couple weeks when that happens. And so we'll really just bring a lot of different disciplines together to just make a quick and informed decision. And then you hope for the best the rest of the way. And then you kind of say, well, the luxury brands thrive on scarcity. So maybe
$5,000.
I can too.
Yeah.
Although, I think we don't always have that luxury in a mass.
But the mascara doesn't
It's
thrive
too
on
substitutable.
scarcity.
They'll
potentially.
just go to the next shelf.
Yeah. They go to the next shelf. Yeah, potentially, yes.
No one's waiting for a black mascara. So.
Yeah. A black mascara is a black mascara. No, really, but it's. I want to talk about the soft side, the people side. You are a people leader. You lead a big organization, and then 2 aspects I want to talk about. One is, I think Ever said before, bringing inside the company what's happening outside. So all the digital transformation, the consumer dynamic, how do you really bring it to your team, especially in this hybrid, or non-hybrid, everybody really working from home and not really showing up at the office at all? How do you bring the culture? How do you bring the innovation? How do you keep your team up to date?
Yeah, I think somebody said it earlier that there is such a tendency for people to get very siloed. And I think that was always true, I think, before COVID, but post. And I think a lot of it, I think we're in a period now where there's just a high degree of expertise that's owned by a lot of teams. So sometimes it's no one's intention, but it just, all the information stays locked in. And so, but I could see that we have a center of excellence team, content and digital teams, and I meet with them all the time. I observe them, and I just know that there's so much else there to offer, and they'll tell me things, but I know it's not filtering down to my people. And so I got together with one of my counterparts in that group, and we said, you know what, we really just need to model a new way of working for all of the more junior people on the team and for the rest of the marketing team. And so we figured out there was a certain touch point we had that just like wasn't working, and we said, let's change this. And we just changed the whole approach so that it was really active. It was very agenda-driven, ongoing topics, bringing together people from 3 to 4 functions. And the goal was to just really force the conversation. And I made a commitment, and she made a commitment to like really lead these discussions, to start modeling the behaviors. And once we got everyone talking and we got everybody used to speaking in front of each other and collaborating, we just knew this was going to start catching on. And I told everyone what we were doing. It wasn't like I was tricking them. I just said, this is how we need to work. And it was really amazing to watch, because we did this maybe 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, I could already see that all the collaboration was happening, that the junior teams were independently reaching out to the other teams, and they were setting up time and brainstorms, and it was exactly what we wanted to see. So I feel like it's just really about making that commitment to your team and just deciding to roll your sleeves up and do it with them and lead them so that they see what it is and they feel it, and then they experience the whole result of it, and then they understand what they need to do, and then they start doing it. So no one's done anything wrong. It's just patterning a new way of working and getting everyone bought in. So far, so good. So, we'll keep it going, and I'm excited because I can already see all of the good things that are coming from that.
So it seems like a collaborative culture, anyhow, very, today we saw various organizations. And by the way, everybody has a different title. I mean, titles are like, if you look at each other, correct, and now you're going to get to know each other better. Titles are very diverse. Everybody has a different and live in a different organization. Technology sometimes is under, sometimes is on the side, but what really counts is the willingness to work together and for the common business goal. I think it's a great. Okay, I have another couple of questions for you before we give it to the audience. Emerging media, which I did the question already in relationship to the Kelsey or the Nikki or the America Ferrero. We saw today this, try emerging media only if it really makes sense for your brand. Try new things only if it makes sense. You don't have to jump on the new things all the time. I think Halo was very clear. What's your approach?
I would agree with that. We actually had an experience where not too long ago we were having a discussion about NFTs, and I could laugh about it now because this happened in the past. But we had a certain executive who had a high-level meeting with someone at Walmart, and yada, yada, yada. I got a brief to figure out an NFT something or other that involved Walmart. And I was like, wait a minute, like what? And I think, for us, when we started to sit back and peel the onion, we started to peel apart a lot of the barriers. And I think the American Eagle discussion brought this out, that NFTs they can be elitist, they can be exclusionary. And we were like, that's really the opposite of who we are as CoverGirl. We're a brand that's like your best friend. We're non-judgmental. We're so welcoming. We're warm. We're positive. We're like, how could we do something that is exclusionary? And so that was a real barrier. Then when we started to think about what was the likelihood that our consumer would be able to figure out an NFT? And then I think the third thing that really stopped us in our tracks is that we had, at that time, we had launched a clean beauty product, and we were really pushing a clean beauty message and looking very seriously at sustainability. And we also felt, well, wow, there's also a lot of issues and controversy around sustainability and NFTs. And so at that particular moment, we just said, maybe what we need to do is wait this one out a bit. And we made a decision to wait that out and let it pass and do something different because we just felt like we were putting ourselves in too much risk to force something for the sake of being there on the cutting edge, but not really having a clear sense of the value we can bring to a consumer and where it would be relevant and wouldn't look like just another brand trying to jump in the fray. So that's an example where we just honestly said, not for us, not this time. But then everything else is always consumer-led, and we just think to ourselves, what is the audience we can gain by trying out this particular new offering from this media partner? What is that targeting they can bring? Oh, who is using that platform? And so where is that connection? Where does it really make sense so that we know that we're kind of like reaching someone that's built in? And that's usually how we'll always say yes to the tests. And then we know if we can measure it immediately, we can shift on a dime, then that is even better. Those are the criteria that will say this is great because we can fail fast, fail small, move on, and learn. And then sometimes you really discover something that really works, which we did last year. We tested audio for the first time. And we were like, this is really fabulous. So it just now is just more of a feature of what we do.
Was it a podcast, a music? What was it?
It was podcast.
Podcast on a mascara?
And it was streaming. So it was many different facets. But we really enjoyed the podcast piece. We hadn't done that before. And so, and I had been wanting to do that for a while. And it finally made sense. So.
Oh, what was it, like on a mascara or like a Nikki talking about?
No, we didn't use our talent, but we did we did a read from the podcast host, and we did it on multiple launches actually. So it was like cool. And we liked that because we tested that versus pre-recorded messaging, and so we were trying to get a read as to how does that authenticity resonate in that world of audio. When you do a pre-recorded message versus a host read, which one do we like better? So, just testing all of these things. And these, in my mind, these are all relatively small things, but when you do a varied, media toolkit, for me, that's the fun of it, because you can really play in this world of nuance and really find what really works best for you, and just like optimize from there.
Yeah. Okay, difficult question now.
Uh-oh.
You know how passionate I am on first-party data. There's one thing to remember, and I know you guys are a bit not all there. I got it today, clearly. Not everybody is on the race and the strategy for first-party data. I like what Josh said, which is not a strategy itself, it's a service to a business goal and strategy. So, but we need to keep going and get going. And what's your view? What is your plans? And how do you intend to ramp up?
Yep, I think I fully agree with what Josh was saying earlier. I think it's important to understand what you'll do with the first-party data. And again, I'm not in a function where I'm like working very closely with the actual tech side of that. But for me, I really think the future, as someone who works on a brand that is kind of straddling that world of CPG and beauty, we share all of those standard challenges, which is that we, unless you're a disruptor brand that started D2C, we're kind of like on the other side of the fence of like kind of like needing help to get access to that first party data. On the one hand, it's great because you have enough scale that you can get plenty of reads of sales data, you can get tremendous insights, you have your panel data, so you have a lot from your retailers, shopper data. They can give you a lot based on their first party, but you're always kind of like reaching through a hole in a wall to try to access it. So I feel like for me, the unlock is that it really opens up that world of sharper and more direct consumer engagement, because that to me is where I see, disruptor brands have really made the difference. And I think that's the biggest hurdle for brands that don't have it. So for me, I'm eager to get my hands all over it, because I think it just brings an extra layer of precision to the marketing plan, and I think it actually just makes the engagement tactics more toothy, and it makes them more commercial driving and makes them more monetized, frankly. So that's what I'm excited about.
And now the question you like, I'm sure you like that. You didn't like the first party data maybe, but the question you might like is the sustainability. And for me, I struggle to think what CoverGirl or Rimmel could have as a sustainability mission that you can share with us.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, I think this is where I think mass CPG brands get put in a negative light because of the nature of the channel. There's theft. There's reasons why you have to like package up your products. So you're kind of, again, starting a little bit at a disadvantage. I think for us, sustainability is something that we want to do right, and for us, we don't want to get put in the bucket of greenwashing. So I think for us, it's a lot of taking small yet practical and impactful steps so that we can honestly say with a straight face, and I think, again, that's the spirit of who we are as a brand, is that we can say, we're able to do this, we're not able to do this right now, and we're not going to lie to you as a consumer. So for us, everything from, FSC certified boards, with all of our in-store displays, they're all SFI certified, which is very similar to FSC. So all of our displays are SFI certified, so at least we know, okay, they're cardboard, but they're coming from sustainably managed forests. So that's a practical thing, that's a good thing.
It's very nice.
And we're very mindful of trying to reduce excess packaging, and we're even bringing that to, the way that we engage with influencers as well, and that's another place. And I would say that the influencer engagement is where I think that conversation really came up first, in terms of before we even heard it really bubbling up from consumers, we were really getting it from the tastemakers first. So I think for us, it's taking practical steps, and really for us also looking, and we partnered with Google actually from a product perspective, because we again wanted to navigate this space nicely and not be accused of greenwashing. And so Google really helped us do the listening and to tease out what the consumer really valued was how would we rank concerns around clean formulations, not having certain things, having certain things, sustainability and green, how do those all rank out? And those insights really helped us figure out how to prioritize and really focus ourselves on what do we want to say in product messaging, what do we want to say in in-store messaging, and where do we want to put the priority as we move towards a more clean and green future.
That's great. Well, you're a super talent marketer, and I think you deserve some question from the audience. You have a lot of colleagues and competitors. This is a big beauty crowd. Elf, L'Oreal, I think Estée Lauder is here. Oh, yeah, I mean, it's a big Erin,
it's a big party.
Enco, big beauty crowd. So any question for Mary and for CoverGirl?
Or Rimmel.
Or Rimmel. Which is Kate Moss? It was, of course, 20 years ago.
This funny thing about Rimmel, that's the Gen Z are just discovering
Kate Moss again.
The Rimmel, yeah, like the Y2K makeup. All of a sudden, like some of the Rimmel things are trending because they didn't know about Kate Moss in the 90s.
So anybody has a question? Otherwise, I have a question for the beauty people. How do you invent your names, product names? I mean, really?
Ooh.
How do you how do you get those? Now tell me.
I think it depends. It depends on your brand, but there's a lot of research and a lot of patents and there's a lot in the
Trademarks.
Yeah, trademarks that my function does not touch, but yeah.
But they're fantastic names. Yeah, fantastic names. Very lots of fantasy. That's great.
I named a product once.
Oh.
And it was really early in my career, and legal approved a name, and then they rescinded the approval. And then I was like a pipsqueak. I was like, it was like a year out of school, and my boss was like, so go home. It was July 4th weekend. She's like, when you come back on Tuesday, bring me a list of like, you have to come with like 20 different names, and hopefully we'll get one, because we were releasing artwork. And I was like, okay. And what I did, it was like a goofy, like, it was like an imitation Strivectin product. It had arginine. It had 3 things. I came up with this name, Triactyline, instant deep wrinkle filler, and we got it.
That was the gold time of marketing when we could name our products.
That one sat on my resume for like a few years. And then I was like, all right, let's just like.
Sydney's looking at us. Okay, to the next. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Mary.
Thanks, everyone.